This right here is the Cooler Master Qube 500, and even though it looks like a relatively regular case, it actually has a pretty unique design that offers a lot of flexibility depending on your needs. And it doesn't come pre-assembled like this. You actually have to build it yourself. So it is in a way an Ikea style do-it-yourself experience, which might not be very efficient in terms of time, but it was definitely very fun to do. And I'm actually going to show you all the steps of putting it together in this video. Now you can get it in black or in white for 90 euros here in the EU or $90 in the US, or you can get this Macaron edition for about $15 more, which includes extra panels, so you can choose between 3 different colors, and you also get some additional accessories. So let's check it out, and more importantly, let's see how it performs. Let's begin. This case comes in a compact flat packaging, and according to instructions, you're supposed to build the case and the system at the same time as you unbox it, which can be a bit challenging if you're already used to just building a system in an already built case, because you do need to follow the instructions just like you would do with any other do-it-yourself product you're not yet familiar with. Now you have these really handy step-by-step instructions on the box itself, along with the QR codes that take you straight to the instruction videos in case you need some extra help on how to do it, and you basically just go layer by layer. Now, to properly challenge this case, I decided to go for an i9-3900KF processor with this new Z790 Aorus Pro X motherboard that will perfectly match this Gigabyte RTX 4080 Aero graphics card. And at first, I wanted to use a matching white water cooler as well, but our Cooler Master rep kept saying that their new Atmos water cooler is supposed to be really good, so I decided to go for that one instead. Unfortunately, that one only comes in black, or at least for now. Now, I went for a typical ATX layout, but you can also make a horizontal case if you prefer. You can make a reverse ATX layout with the glass on the right side instead of the left. You can keep it open as a test bench, or you could even put the feet on the front and then have the rear I/O come out at the top if you want that for some reason. And for a typical ATX layout, you start with the motherboard tray and you install the motherboard on it right away. Now you can also install the CPU and the memory before you do that, and if your cooler mounting system requires a bracket on the back, I would do that before as well. The next step is the PSU. Now you need to screw this bracket onto the power supply and then mount it next to the motherboard. It has several different positions depending on if you need more space on top for the radiator or you need more space on the bottom for the graphics card. And you can use a regular ATX power supply, but since larger models can interfere with large GPUs, I used an SFX model instead. Now then we need to install the back panel and the GPU. Now the back panel already has a single case fan that is pre-installed, and you just need to secure it with 4 screws here on the bottom. Then the graphics card goes in, and then you add the front panel the same way we added the back panel, securing it with 4 screws here at the bottom. Then you're supposed to put on the bottom panel that you just hook on and then use 2 screws on top to secure it. And finally, we add 4 little feet that you basically just click on. Now, according to the instructions, this is the time to connect all the cables and to do the cable management. But with a big GPU like this one, it was really hard to reach all the connections at the bottom of the motherboard, so I would really recommend you connect those before adding the bottom panel. That being said, I really like that they included white cables to go with the white chassis, and for a very small case like this one, there is plenty of space for cable management in the back, so that part was very easy to do. And now you're supposed to add the top panel, but I decided to install the radiator on it first and add the cooler to the build, because if you look at the instructions, it says that you should build a whole case first, and then if you want a radiator, you need to take the panel you want the radiator to be on off, then put it back on, which makes absolutely no sense in my opinion, and it's just a waste of time. I mean, why would you install something on, then take it off, then put it back on? And I do believe that this part had to be a bit more clearer in the instructions, especially when you kind of insist to build a system as you go. Anyway, I had a 240mm radiator which fits perfectly at the top without any issues. You can also mount it at the front, at the bottom, or even use this bracket to add it to the side panel. 360 definitely won't fit, and a 280mm will fit, but it will require you to drop the power supply a bit further down, which wouldn't really work unless you were using a shorter graphics card. So an air cooler or a 240 is going to be your easiest option here, because even though this is an ATX case, it is pretty small and it looks more like an M-ATX format. And finally, we have the side panels with all the dust filters, and that is it. The case is done. I think it looks pretty and it wasn't really hard to build it. It gets a bit overwhelming when you open the instructions for the first time and you see all these pictures everywhere, but it was not hard to follow it at all. And I mean, it is just different from what we are used to, and it does take more time than a regular build would, especially for an experienced system builder. So I do wish they added a core instructions of just building the case, because I do think it would be much easier and much quicker to have the case empty and then to just build a regular PC like you usually would, without having to, stop and look at the instructions every few minutes. But it was fun and it was definitely different. Now the build quality is very good here. It is a really sturdy case with very solid panels all around. I mean, the whole construction is more solid than a regular pre-built case would be. And you get fine dust filters behind every side panel except for the tempered glass, of course. With the power supply in the front, you do see quite a few cables, and I just kind of wish they added some kind of a PSU shroud to cover that up a bit. Other than that, it looks pretty clean except for the 12-volt high power cable that is going up instead of down, but that is because of the orientation of the GPU connection on the graphics card itself, nothing to do with the case. On the front I/O, you get a Type-C connection, you get a power button, 2 USB Type-A ports, and a combined audio jack. And this Macaron edition also comes with a few little extras like the hooks to store your headphones on, for example, and little rubber cable holders, as well as an extra handlebar. Now, design is always a subjective thing, but I do think it will go with a lot of desk setups out there. I guess most people will go for the black or white version, but this pastel macaron version is very pretty. And as I said at the start, you do get 3 different colors to choose from, and you can easily just swap them around without using any tools. But design aside, what matters most is that it performs well. I would normally never recommend pairing an i9 3900KF with a 240mm all-in-one cooler, but the Atmos actually managed to hold the CPU at 305 watts during a long CPU stress test, which is pretty impressive. The CPU did get hot, it was thermally limited, and the fans really had to work hard, but keep in mind, most 240s I've seen struggle to hold more than 250 watts, so the new cooler definitely performs great. I mean, I would still recommend getting a good 360 for this particular processor, but it is still very nice to see a result this good from a 240mm all-in-one cooler. Now, during this test, the GPU and internal temperatures look great, as you would expect, because the all-in-one cooler basically pushes most of the heat directly out of the top of the case. But let's see what happens while gaming and when we add some heat from the GPU as well. Now, I went with the absolute worst case scenario, which is running Cyberpunk 2077 with the new 2.0 update. And this really stresses both the graphics card and the processor, with the i9 still pulling around 175 watts of power, which is a lot for gaming. And it held up pretty well, showing reasonable CPU temperatures. GPU thermals look great as well, even with the RTX 4080 pulling about 290 watts. And an internal case temperature of 34 degrees is really good, especially when you consider the fact that the case only comes with 1 fan in the back. And this is all with the fan speed manually limited to 40 decibels, which is what I consider to be a nice and acceptable noise level for a system under load. So even with this super power-hungry CPU, it was doing better than I expected it to. If you take just a slightly more reasonable processor like the Ryzen 7 7800X3D, for example, or a 7950X3D, you would absolutely have no problems keeping your build cool and quiet. So overall, I'm very happy with how this case and this build turned out, and most of all, how it performs. I do think it's definitely more work to put it together than when you just buy a pre-assembled PC case, but it's also not that complicated. You do need a bit more focus, and you do need to depend on the instructions a lot, which is not something you do if you have some experience with building a PC. So it is just different, and it gives you a lot of flexibility in return. And for a good quality case like this one, with lots of features and lots of accessories, I think it is very reasonably priced. Now, I don't think 90 euros or dollars for a case like this one is much, considering what you get and the unique design, or paying $15 or euros more for 4 extra colored panels and quite a few accessories if you go for the Macaron version. I really don't think that there is a case out there that can offer the same and match the price at the moment. So if you like this case and you would just enjoy building your own thing, just go for it. That's it. This video is brought to you by Seasonic and their brand new Vertex power supplies. These fully modular power supplies are extremely efficient and very quiet due to their fan design and their hybrid fan mode that stops the fans completely under 40% load. They come with a variety of connections for any kind of systems you have in mind, including the new 12-volt high-power cable for the latest RTX graphics cards, and as a little bonus, you get a cozy 10-year-long warranty. Check them out using the links in the description below. I really hope you liked this video. If you did and you want to see more videos like this one, please do consider clicking that subscribe button, because that way you will never miss my future uploads. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!